Well, for those of you who have been patiently waiting, welcome back. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome here to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and the Victoria Day Speedfest weekend. And it is the Pirelli World Challenge Championships at CTMP. And the grid you're looking at is GTS. And they are staging up for round 5 of the championship. Opening rounds coming at St. Petersburg, Florida on the street circuit. Rounds 3 and 4 unfolding a few weeks ago at Virginia International Raceway, and now here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. A field of 20 cars, and we've got the GTS category cars. There's also this year, if you haven't been able to follow what's been happening so far in the season, they now recognize the GTS A or the AM category as well. And so between the two of them, we've got a solid field here. Martin Barkey, and you can see behind that Cadillac ATS-V safety car, just to the left of it, that red nose of that Crossbow GT4. Well, that is Martin Barkey's first ever professional pole in the MBRP exhausts. Mantella Autosports Crossbow. Great run for him. The car to his right, another beautiful red, prototypical looking machine, Calvin Fish, is Jade Buford, who gets the opportunity to run here once again. And boy, every time you put Jade in this Sin R1 GT4, great things happen. He's such a talented driver, and it's such a quality car. I think we're in for a good one.
Well, he's a great little racer, but his qualifying speed has always impressed. He's had numerous poles in various championships over the years, so certainly has the pace. Great to see him back in the championship for this round. But what I like, Greg, is when you look at that grid sitting there, you got 6 different brands represented in the top 7, and that's really cool. We expected Mantella Autosport to be strong on their home track, but Martin Barkey's first career pro pole, as you said, that is sensational stuff. Had the win last year, but his first pole in the championship.
Yeah, it's great. You see the third car in the queue, that white Mustang. That is Ernie Francis, who, of course, was a competitor in Pirelli World Challenge in Touring Car B and then Touring Car A for many years. That is the new Ford Mustang that is undergoing the homologation process to become a fully homologated GT4 platform. Not quite there yet. It's undergoing the process. And he showed up here, and he's been a busy boy as of late, running the top class in Trans Am and the big ground pounders, but loves running this car. Showed up here, was immediately on pace, ended up qualifying 3rd.
Yeah, and I know you were calling that session for the track yesterday, and he had a big moment down in 1. He used every ounce of his car skill to keep that car on the black stuff yesterday. He's an immense talent, and it's going to be fun to see how that car performs. It's won races already this year in other championships, built obviously by Multimatic up here in Canada, so it's kind of a home race for that machine. And Ernie should certainly provide some fireworks here today.
Anthony Mantella, the team principal of Mantella Autosport, qualified 4th in the familiar Gulf liveried Crossbow. Then a good run. Nice to see Rodrigo Baptista in the Flying Lizard Motorsports Porsche having a good qualifying run, and then points leader coming in, 4-time champion Lawson Aschenbach in the number 10 Black Dog Speed Shop Chevy Camaro. And Lawson said that this has been kind of an interesting weekend for him because that car is mandated to run a pretty sizable ride height. And he said with the speed we're carrying up and over that rise heading into turn 8 with the ride height and with these cool temperatures, so it's denser air, he said, we're packing air underneath the front of the car. And he said, sometimes you're not quite sure exactly what's going to happen when you turn into turn 8.
Not a great feeling around this place.
Yeah,
lots of speed up that back straightaway, and then as you crest that brow, you're trying to get on the brakes. And he just said the car's kind of floating literally on him a little bit, as you would expect, but it's just one of the ways that they can control the balance and performance of these various brands in the championship. Certainly that GT4 Camaro has been very strong. 4 podium runs has given Lawson the championship lead, but it's going to be a tough day for him.
Well, great consistency, and that is, well, we've talked about it a lot during the opening rounds of this championship already, is that some of the fast cars around him are having driver changes at various events, and Lawson is clearly understanding the big picture because he always seems to make sure he somehow finishes in front of the guys he's racing for the entire season, and that's allowed him to build his championship. One of those guys that he's racing for the entire season at the second round of the double headers, I should say, at VIR round 4 in the championship, Ian James in that red and black panos just going out of your frame there, the number 50. He and Lawson had a tremendous battle at the end of the 4th round of the championship, and I think we're going to see that continue now for the rest of the season.
I think so. I mean, that team is really pumped up. They had the podium finish there that got taken away from them after the race, which is a bit unfortunate. There was a little bit of rough and tumble there on that final few corners, but I thought it was just good, hard racing, Greg, and obviously it depends on what side of the line you're on in terms of making that determination, but ultimately Lawson got the podium finish. As I said, he's had 4 podium finishes now to start the championship year. But yes, Ian James, great experience. Tom Milner leading that Panos group with that new machine, and they've made a lot of progress very, very quickly. Had a bit of a power steering issue in qualifying yesterday, otherwise Ian felt there were a few more tenths left on the table. And look for him to have a strong run. I believe Don Panos may be here on site. He's supposed to fly up here this morning and support the team, so it'll be great to put on a good show for him.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, Mr. Panos has a fair connection here. What was then called Motorsport as well. And that's the Avezzano GT, so it's a great program. The standout in many ways at, other than Nico Jaman, obviously, was Jeff Courtney at Virginia National Raceway in the JCR Motorsports Maserati GT4. They've received a little bit of some BOP adjustments, and so we didn't have quite the pace. He said this was the other track when we initially looked at the schedule that we thought we'd really be strong on. And he said they've reined us in just a little bit. Still be fun to see what he had. It was just a tremendous weekend with the pole, a couple of great second place finishes, trading fast laps at the end of the 4th round with Nico Jaman. Interesting story here, Nate Stacey, and folks, you're seeing we're going to do 2 pace laps here, and the reason is it's cold.
It's frisky.
And they just wanted to get some little bit of extra temperature in those tires before they let them sail here. Nate Stacey has made the move up 1 into GTS this year. And of course, he had a win a few years ago at 14 years old in Touring Car Beat. He said, this track will forever be a very special one for me. But now in GTS, but he switched from the big V8 of the Mustang, which he really had figured out how to drive last year, to a Flying Lizard Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR, and he said we're chipping away at learning how to drive that car, and he had a bit of an off and had some damage to that car. Crew doing a great job to get it out and get him into qualifying, and ended up in that.
Yeah, it was a good recovery. I think, as you said, Nate is just very much trying to learn how to get the most out of this Cayman chassis. I spoke to Darren Law yesterday, team manager over at Flying Lizard Motorsports, and he said, Nate's a great talent, but he said he's just kind of overdriving this car a little bit. He's used to really diving into the corners. That's exactly what Nate did when he had his incident the other day. He just took turn 4 flat, got into the brake zone down into turn 5, Moss cornered right through here, took it flat, wide open through this corner, got in there a little bit too deep, 3 or 4 miles an hour on the data. Is shown on the trace as to where he should hit the brakes, right where Martin Bucky is right now, and just got up on the curb, lost the car, and big damage. But as you said, crew did a great job, and Nate is still learning to try and get the most out of the Cayman.
He is indeed. The 10th place car in the grid is the fastest car in qualifying in the GTA category, GTSA category. It's the number 11 of Tony Gaples, the Team Black Dog Speed Shop car. But one of the big stories here this weekend is the points leader in GTSA coming in. The number 2 at Jason Bell also had an off down in Moss on the test day in the Sin R1 GT4 from Racer's Edge. Damage too severe to fix it. Fortunately, the Ansa Motorsports team had a crossbow that didn't have anybody in it, and they said it's available if you want it. The great camaraderie in the paddock here, they put a deal together so he could at least run these 2 races here in the crossbow and get some points, considering that he was the leader coming in, and it's just great to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's immense because you can't afford a double zero. These double-header weekends, if you have problems in the first round, can affect your grid for the second round, of course, as the fast lap today counts for the grid position tomorrow. But to have an incident where the car's out of action, great job by everyone in the paddock in terms of getting Jason back on the grid for today's race.
And in a very unfamiliar car, he qualified within a second of the GTSA pole sitter, so he adapted quickly indeed. And there's a look at young Nate Stacey as we are getting ready to go. This time we will be going green. The Cadillac ATS-V safety car into the pits. In the field now, entering the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone. That's really between 9 and 10 here, and it's up to the starter and that front row.
Barkey's gone.
Wow, Barkey. I'm not sure that. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the stewards say.
He gave a little lean on Buford, his fellow front sitter there, row sitter, and has allowed Ernie Francis Jr. to take advantage of that, and he slotted into the second spot early.
Yeah, and of course, when on a restart, when you get into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, you can go when you want as long as it's a smooth acceleration. On a actual start, you're supposed to wait for the green to come out to really go for it. And of course, we didn't see. If it was a very early green, Martin's okay. If it wasn't, this could be interesting here, but great opportunity for Ernie Francis in that white Ford Mustang.
Very much so, because you got to feel that Mustang maybe a little bit stronger up this Andretti straightaway, which we're now going to get into. So for Martin Barkey, he was anxious. He has the pole speed that he showed in qualifying. Now is, can he get a big enough gap here to maintain it up this hill?
And that's going to be the interesting thing. If Ernie can get around him by the time they get up to 8 and he makes the move, and Barkey's going to stay to the inside in the shorter run, but there, look at that, not even close.
That displays why Martin Barkey was so anxious at the start. He wanted to take off and try and get a cushion, a big enough one to get to that back straightaway, but Ernie hung with him tough over that opening half lap.
Well, that's the interesting thing with this class right now, with the wide variety of platforms and cars here and power plants, is these cars, many of them make their speed very differently than the guy you're racing, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and you should see Barkey all over the back of Ernie Francis Jr. through this first half lap up that back straightaway. It was 6 miles an hour down. You can see there, Barkey looks like he's just holding it wide open through turn 1. Ernie's having to trail off the throttle a little bit, at least until these Pirelli P0s come into their sweet range. Temperature-wise, as we said, very frisky here this morning, just 53 degrees ambient temperature right now. It's a beautiful day, but it is chilly.
And for Ernie, right now, it's all about hang on till the exit of Moss, and then hopefully build enough of a gap down that back straight to be able to maintain it again back around to Moss. He's doing a nice job, a little wide there.
Nice start by Lawson Aschenbach, 6 on the grid. He's already up to the 4th position, so that's a good start for our championship leader. So Barkey's right now there. The question is now, can he defend from Jay Buford right behind him, because that Sin was a little bit quicker. Barkey was 6 miles an hour slower on that previous lap, and the trap speed up here, and you can see the Sin has taken advantage here, just squeaks by him. Not quite as quick as Ernie Francis, but even so, does have an advantage there.
Yeah, it's one of those scenarios when you're on just a free lap all by yourself.
Did you say scenario?
I didn't intentionally, but I wish I would have. That's good. That crossbow is so quick on a free lap, but once you get into traffic where its immense cornering speed's negated a little bit, it's a car that sometimes can be a little tough to race. Look at Lawson getting a run around the outside at the exit at 10.
Barkey defended immediately. It's going to get really tight here. Remember last year, Aschenbach and Brett Sandberg, our championship winner from last year, had a clash right there down in turn 1. Lawson gives him plenty of room, so a nice start from our championship leader. Has moved from the 3rd row of the grid up to the 3rd spot.
And Barkey just that quick from pole to 4th, and his teammate, team owner Anthony Mantella now right behind him. Oh, and a move down underneath Baptista, underneath Ian James, just caught it in the back of the shot heading in, and he made it stick. Nice move by Baptista down into 3.
Yeah, great battle there for that 6th position right now. So things are settling in. And Martin Barkey, you'll be frustrated. It's really hard to control your emotions, Greg, from a driver's perspective when you know you've got the lap time, but you can't showcase it because you've got guys that are a little bit quicker down the straightaway, so they've got a better raceability, I call it, with their machine. But if you can get out front and get a gap, I'm sure Barkey would be able to keep the lead. Right now he's under pressure from his teammate, Anthony Mantella, who knows this racetrack like the back of his hand.
Now the one thing that, and we saw it play out last year, with Brett on his way, ultimately winning the championship, was you just keep driving hard, force the guys in the heavier cars. Once they run those tires off a little bit in the last 15 minutes, we saw Brett numerous times make up 3-4 spots in the latter part of the race.
Well, plan A is to get the lead and control it from the front. If you lose track position, plan B is okay. Let these guys wear their tires down a little bit more than I do. Much lighter weight car is not going to put the same strain on those Pirelli P0s as the heavier machines in front of them. So they just got to wait now, be patient over the next 30 minutes, and maybe in the last 15 minutes, particularly if these guys get battling. Look at this. Barkey, a great run through 1 and 2, and it puts the pressure on Lawson into the brake zone for turn 3. And there was a big delta coming across the stripe, and Barkey closed it immediately. Looks to the inside. That's wild down through there. He's looking forwards and behind him because he knows if he opens the door, his teammate will try and slide through.
You can see Lawson right there in that run between 5A and 5B. he just parks that Camaro right dead center of the track to make sure that that lighter crossbow doesn't do a dive move down to the inside. And then now he's able to move away. Just want to point out here, great start. George Kurtz in the 04 Global Motorsports Group CrowdStrike McLaren has gone around pole sitter Tony Gaples in the A-Class, now up into 9th overall and leading, and that's great news for them. After a good start to the season at St. Pete, they had electrical gremlins that just absolutely hampered them throughout the event at VIR, and it's great to see George up and having a solid run as we look here at our 6th place runner, the number 3 Flying Lizard Porsche of Rodrigo Baptista, back to Martin Barkey.
Yeah, he's dropped Ian James pretty quickly there, so I wonder if Ian's having further issues. As I mentioned, he had a power steering issue in qualifying yesterday. I expect him to hang with this train a little bit closer than he is. He's dropped a lot on that lap. We saw Baptista make the move, and he's already gapped Ian by nearly a second and a half in a single lap there. As Barkey again looking to work over Lawson Aschenbach, but he's not an easy pick, is he, Greg? He's got so much experience. Championship winning credentials behind the wheel of that number 10.
Yeah, he knows just where to put the car. And I'll tell you, at the bottom of 2, Lawson, those right side tires, he was way off the outside edge of that track. He is clearly feeling the pressure, but he's not one that you generally see easily forced into any kind of mistake either.
And he knows exactly the championship scenarios. We keep talking about it so far in terms of Lawson, the best bet for the championship overall, just keep getting the big points. Who's going to come at him on a consistent basis? We talked about Baptista. He had the DNF at VIR, which hurts his championship position, but Barkey now sits second in the points. Lawson knows that, and he thinks, well, if I'm in front of Barkey, that means that championship lead tonight will be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, he just understands the big game. The long game, as we've talked about previously. So here's a look back all the way to 6th, and there in that Porsche is Baptista, who, as you said, not only did he drop James, now he is starting to close up on those 2 crossbows from Mantella.
Yeah, done a really nice job here. Very impressed with this young man this season. Got great tutelage there. Jim Bell is the engineer for the Flying Lizard GTS program. Darren Law and the rest of the boys obviously chip in as well in terms of pointing Baptista in the right direction.
There you can see, I mean, as nimble and quick as the Porsche is, once you get to the twisty bits here, those crossbows just have it on everybody as they're able to gap Baptista just a little bit. By the time they got down to the end of the back straight and up into 910, Baptista was a lot closer, and that's just the dynamic. And yeah, we talked about Lawson lived the nightmare last year.
Oh, a little slip there by Lawson off of Moss. I think he's still got enough torque out of that Camaro to outpower these guys up the Andretti straightaway. There you see it. Pulls about 5 to 6 car lengths, so he takes the pressure off. Mantella now poking his nose to the inside of Barkey. Dives down to the inside, not quite close enough. Barkey just widens the arc there, then carries speed through 8. Beautiful rhythm through this section here, 8, 9, and 10. Just love it, Greg. I think when these tires start to degrade a little bit towards the end of the race, that turn 10 area could become an overtaking opportunity. It used to be a no-go zone in years past, but everyone's kind of found that you can make that work, particularly late in the race.
And that turn 8 is so fast. Everybody always talks about turn 2 here, but turn 8, you approach it with such tremendous speed. And you can see, Barkey understanding the physics of that corner, that outside line, carrying that little bit more speed. Unless the guy in the inside up into 8, Cal, really gets that car placed deep along the inside, it's tough to make that pass stick there, isn't it?
It really is. And with turn 8, I mean, it's not flat out, but it's really just a brush of the brakes. And it's more just to get the nose settled as much as it is a speed reduction, Greg. You can go through there with a lot of speed, but if you just turn in without lifting or without brushing the brakes a little bit, you're going to have the nose pick up on you and wash out. So it's more the braking to get the nose tucked in turn 8 than anything else.
You can see just appearing in the back of the frame, you see that Panos, so that gives you the margin now that Baptista has been able to open up over the 50 of Ian James. And then it's Jeff Courtney that's behind this group a bit. Watch here, there's the margin to James. Then Courtney will appear in the Maserati, and there is George Kurtz in the 04 CrowdStrike McLaren. And what a great rebound after the huge issues they had. Actually not even starting one of the races and then not finishing the second one. And it was all that tricky electronics in these GT4 cars. They've got it figured out, and George able to get around Tony Gaples. and he was right there, next car in the frame, having a great run.
Yeah, he really is. That car's been very impressive this year, this 570S, and you know, has good straightaway speed as well. Looking at the speed traps at VIR, the McLarens were really tough there.
Yeah, and he had a third in the second round at St. Pete, so it's not like George and that McLaren haven't had some pace, but just that problematic run. Meanwhile, there is Tony Gaples, and he's been very impressive this year. Actually came into VIR leading in the GTSA points, and then made the ultimate team owner sacrifice when Lawson's car had a differential issue and they didn't have a spare, and Tony offered up the one from his car knowing that Lawson was going for the overall championship, which, let's be honest, is kind of important to the bow tie.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of support from GM within that camp, certainly. So it was a tough decision, but ultimately you have to do that. Lawson's going for the overall championship for the team. They've had so much success together, and those are the sacrifices that a great team owner has to make now and again. Tony's a great guy, though, great racer. He always makes up a ton of positions come race day.
There's another McLaren, the orange one. That is the tender belly McLaren of Mark Clennon having a good run. Right in front of him is the 019. That is Ari Balo, that normally running for Cameron Racing would be running in Aston Martin, but they came here right after VIR tested, had a big incident, couldn't get the car repaired in time, and they dug up a trusty old BMW E36, and they said, we're a little underpowered, a little undertired, a little underwinged. And he said, but Ari's given it a great run, and right now sits third in the class. And then watching behind this group, you see, Mark Clennon, as I said, in that orange McLaren, and then Nate Stacey. And Nate, obviously, after that off, he is just trying to salvage something here. And just the fact that they made qualifying was impressive enough. And now Nate just trying to get anything he can for points.
Yeah, and I think that put Balo's performance in perspective when you got guys like Clennon and Stacey behind you, with a good chunk of the race already gone down. That's a great performance in that old BMW.
Yeah, Ari hasn't been racing that long, but boy, is he a quick study. That's impressive.
What a glorious day here. I mean, coming north of the border and coming to this racetrack is always a treat. There was a touch there by Nate, but certainly Clennon having to hang on there through 5B out of Moss Corner. That will hurt his exit speed a little bit, as we've seen at VIR, and we're seeing it here today. And McLaren certainly scoots down the straightaways.
A couple of cars that drift to this. It's nice to see in the Pirelli World Challenge Championships another McLaren, and it's the fluorescent yellow and black Volt lighting car of Volt Racing and Alan Brynjolfsson making their first start in the Pirelli World Challenge Championship. So certainly getting attention here, also in one of the McLarens.
Yeah, and they hope to have both cars out for the next round of the championship at Lime Rock next weekend. They had some electrical gremlins going on this week, switching to this Pirelli tire. Cars picked up a lot of grip, but was lifting a wheel and sending kind of shock waves into the TC and electronic department, so shutting the engine down. Look at the pressure now by Barkey. Oschenbach's going to have a long 36 minutes here to hang on to that podium today.
Yeah, he is. And Buford starting to close in. Last lap ran a little bit quicker than Ernie Francis, set fast lap of the race thus far up front. But boy, this is just, this is where Lawson earns the reputation he's built and shows the savvy he's got for taking him to 4 championships. He's drawn on everything right now, isn't he?
He really has. He knows he gets to that back straightaway, he's going to have a chance to catch his breath a little bit as Anthony Mantella just trying to work his teammate over. They're going to try and keep it clean now. Mantella has the high line, the wider arc, and he gets that position. So 4th place now, Anthony Mantella, and his car seems to be hooked up a little bit more than Barkey. I noticed into 5B on that previous run that Barkey was kind of sliding the car in there, so maybe he's overdriven those tires just a little bit. We'll have to see now with the switch of the team cars whether Mantella can figure out a way to get by our championship leader, Lawson Oschenbach.
And it's interesting. It's been an interesting dynamic for Anthony Mantella. On most weekends, you show up, Barkey is fast early. Anthony gets annoyed and finds it a little bit, and then just lights the fuse and really comes alive and has some great racing. And I'll tell you, there are few paddocks where you walk into that you leave without a grin on your face like these guys. That is just, they understand racing is first and foremost about enjoying it, and they certainly do. And Lawson, I'm not sure how much he's enjoying it right now with these guys just hounding him.
The key is just to get to this point.
Yeah.
And and look in your mirror and watch that crossbow disappear a little bit. But for Mantello, I mean, he was under the tutelage of Mark Wilkins for a long time, fellow Canadian, who really pointed him in the right direction. And when you go to the sprint format, he's running endurance racing before, you've got a co-driver. And when you go to a sprint format, it's all about you. But like you said, with Barkey being on the pace this year, allows Anthony at times to certainly look at Martin's traces, look at his data, then go out and try and simulate it.
And really what these two need, Mantella and Barkey, is they need, for instance, for Mantella to be able to get close enough to Lawson somewhere to get underneath him, get Lawson offline, and let Martin through as well, so that then Lawson's got to deal with those two cars up front, so at least one of them might be able to make a little bit of a break, because I fear that you know, if just one gets by Lawson and he can stay close enough coming out of Moss, he might be able to lead going into turn 8.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like we saw on the first lap, Barkey had track position, but one by one they were sort of like out screaming him up the straightaway. And so even if Lawson will know that, he'll be patient. Even if they manage to find their way to the inside in one of these corners through the first half of the lap, he realized, well, I've still got the opportunity to come back at you. And the important thing is the Andretti straightaway leads to the final couple of corners to the start-finish line, which is where the result counts.
Look at this. We were just alluding to it, that Buford has started to reel in Ernie Francis, and the last lap he once again ran a tenth or so quicker than Francis, and that margin has absolutely evaporated. We've got a fair amount of race time left here, over 33 minutes yet to go.
Well, Ernie certainly has great car control that he displayed here yesterday in qualifying, so he may need that. I mean, it's early days for that team with this new Mustang, so they probably don't have a lot of sort of long runs with the car at this point, Greg, so he's certainly got to learn that and treat those tires easily during the first half of this stint. And he may just be tempering his enthusiasm a little bit, just knowing that it's going to be the final 10 minutes that counts. But Jay will be looking and trying to figure out if there is a weakness around this circuit where he can take advantage.
Did you see the line that Jay just ran from 9 to 10? I think he was kind of exploring what you were talking about, well, can I make this work later?
You didn't used to say, well, that's a crazy move, but over the years we keep seeing it being executed.
Yep.
And it's not a bad place to do it, particularly on that last lap, because the start-finish line comes up really quickly before anyone can respond to you.
The key is that you make that move to the inside, you got to then put the car on the exit right where the car you've just passed would maybe try and over-under, and you've got to be able to get in there and make it work. But boy, when you do, it's there. And there's a little bit of a battle here as Courtney is now reeled in James. So the battle for 7th is a good one. The battle for the lead is a good one. The battle for
4th is a good one.
3rd, 4th, 5th is huge. Exactly.
Seems like the Mustang has a couple of miles an hour in clean air, at least, over the Sin. But Jade is getting
3 last on this past run through there. 147 to 144.
And Jade is obviously getting the hole in the air punched by that Mustang in front of. Oh, there you see it.
Yep,
that's what you're talking about, Greg.
He's exploring that
Got
possibility.
to be a lot closer though, because Ernie's carrying good speed through there, so that would be a bad sort of timing of trying to make that move. He needs to be a lot closer and just kind of slide out from underneath as you set up for turn 10. But Ernie's pretty savvy. He's not been asleep watching the races here the last few years either. He'll realize that if it gets towards the end, he's going to have to defend that inside line a little bit for turn 10.
And you know, when that Mustang's sideways, it's even tougher to pass, right?
So he'll just pitch it in there.
He's capable of it.
Yep. He's starting to use a little bit more of the road than the Sin.
Yep.
And just opening up his hands a little bit more so you don't just kind of bind the car up and load those tires.
And when Jade showed up the last time this series ran at Barber Motorsports Park in a track tailor-made to that Sin, he romped, but we also saw him when he would make his appearances, and he never ran the full season, but he'd make his appearances in the Sin, and whatever kind of track it was, if it was a track where he could just go, he went. If it was a track where he had to hound and pressure and conserve his tires while running others off, he did that. As you said, he's certainly a great qualifier, but he's a savvy racer here.
He is, and seems to be pretty stable there at the front. Things settled down a little bit. Oschenbach has got his gap there. Baptista dropped away a little bit on the 2 crossbows, but he's now caught them a little bit on this lap, it looks like.
Getting a report from race control that the corner marshals around the track are perhaps spotting a little bit of fluid coming from the back of the Panos. obviously it's nothing huge, but at this point, at this stage of the race, on the opening couple of laps, you think maybe a little fuel overflow or something. But at this stage, that would seem to be potentially a little bit more problematic, if indeed that's the case.
Well, it may explain the pace, because I thought Ian would have a little bit more than he's demonstrating right now here today. He said the car felt pretty good. There you see Anthony Mantella really close here. How much patience will he display? Not forget about the big picture. He realized that his teammates in a first championship battle with Oschenbach. Love to do him a favor and grab some of those points.
And as long as Oschenbach can be at that point exiting Moss, he'll be good up into turn 8.
Traffic now a factor as the leaders are lapping for the first time today. Always opportunity for the guy who's chasing.
Yeah, Ernie and Jade catching it at a good spot, exiting Moss, able to just pull out and drive by. But when are these guys going to catch him? If they catch him through 2 and 3, oh boy.
Yeah, this could be what Mantella needs, but Lawson will be looking at it. He's the ultimate chess player in terms of really setting this up. So if he needs to back everyone up and just use the strength that he has there in terms of the torque off the corners compared to the crossbow, he will certainly do it.
This is a very late entry that they're coming up on. The Romano De Angelis just making the entry into the field yesterday. So look at this. Yellow's waving. Lawson diving to the inside, but he does it down into turn 2. And nice job by De Angelis. He just realized what was happening here and just basically drove off track now that they've got that paved runoff, and said, I don't want to have any part of messing these guys up. But it looks like it lost a little momentum still for Lawson.
Yeah, those crossbows can really roll some apex speed there through turn 3, but there's nowhere to go with it, unfortunately. Same thing here. Now can he do the over-under? Lawson will try and protect, just try and keep it tidy.
Well, Lawson saw that building, didn't he? He exited that 5A, as they call it, that first part, and he just said, yeah, no.
It's allowed Baptista to close in on Baki, though.
It is.
Oschenbach there in traffic, lost a little bit of time, and crossbows with him. Baptista goes around Baki. Can he get enough on this lap to go by Mantella as well?
Looks to
side, not enough.
Not enough. I think once you get to the turn-in point, again, that ability, as you put it very well, for the crossbow to roll apex speed.
Oh,
lead change.
Turn 10.
Yeah, you said it. And Buford's got it now over Francis.
Maybe the traffic, I think it was Ziegler there in the picture, in the frame at the same time. Maybe there was just a little hiccup there for our leader, Ernie Francis Jr.
Now Jade is going to throw everything he possibly can at this run all the way down to Moss to try and have enough of a margin built to negate that little bit of a better speed down the straight than Ernie has.
Yeah, this racetrack has two very different personalities. This first half is one, and then you get on that back straightaway is where you need horsepower and low drag. See if we can take a look at what happened in turn 10. You see some traffic involved. Let's take another look. They'd already cleared him. Now he just slid. That was perfect. I think the traffic had maybe enabled him to get close enough to Ernie Francis to then make that move. So it wasn't the traffic in turn 10. It was probably in turn 8 where the traffic held up Ernie a little bit.
And we saw Jade exploring that possibility for the previous couple of laps to see just what do I need to do, where do I need to place the car, and then execute it into perfection. Here's what we talked about. He built up enough, Cal, and he's able to lead here into turn 8.
Yeah, and he's had pace. I mean, he's had the fastest lap of the day just by a 10th over Ernie Francis Jr. But again, pace is not everything around this racetrack. It's the raceability, the ability to keep it for the complete lap.
And we're coming up on the halfway point here. In just a few seconds, we'll be at 25 complete, 25 to go. And Buford now being able to maintain that lead up into turn 8. Now, once again, he can just drive hard and try and build a little bit of a gap. Although Ernie on that run, I mean, he was 4 miles an hour quicker down that straight, but he just wasn't close enough coming out of Moss to do anything with it. But behind him, that battle for third now is absolutely insane. See if we can pick them up coming through the exit of 3 here. And there you go.
Yep. Mantella's got around Oschenbach.
I thought I saw that move happening.
He's got damage. Yeah, his hood looked like he's coming up, so I'm not sure if there was any contact when he did get around Lawson, or whether the body was just come adrift a little bit. Hopefully he'll hang on.
Ooh, wiggle there. That just killed his exit, and Lawson will probably be able to easily drive by here.
Yeah, this should be no contest. Good 5 miles an hour difference plus down this Andretti straightaway. Baptista has got around Barkey. He'll stretch it a little bit.
I think they had Ziegler that they're coming up and working through. But Mantella now, I mean, he's been able to make the pass.
Yep.
The question is he got a good run out of 10, but then he runs wide, Cal.
Give him some confidence in terms of I can make it. And, there's nothing like standing on the podium, Greg, particularly on your home turf. I'm sure he's got a lot of supporters here this weekend. Love to be spraying some champagne.
You just saw Lawson into one, the back end just rotating around just a little bit. He is giving it absolutely everything he's got right now.
He's frustrated. I mean, he wants race wins, and he's got the championship lead. And he said, "I've got to keep thinking about the big picture." But he just said, "I wish, you know, we could tune up the front end downforce a little bit." He said, "This minimum ride height requirement that we have to run just means I can't get the front settle like I want to, and it's making it a little bit difficult to drive because it's inconsistent in terms of how the front settles into a corner."
Mantella able to stay close, but not close enough down into 5, and this is going to be maybe the opportunity Lawson needed here because look at that lead he's building. And here comes Baptista.
Well, he did it to his teammate, Anthony's teammate, so if he's a little bit closer next time out of Moss, he may be able to just drive by Mantella up the straightaway as well. Really nice run from Baptista as well.
It is.
Great. Continues to impress.
Yep.
Some nice solid performances.
Young man, I believe, from Barcelona.
Whether that bodywork flat will be taking air off the rear wing. It's probably going to affect the rear downforce as much as the front. You can really roll some speed through there compared to Aschenbach.
Yeah.
I think that delta may get even bigger as this race wears on a little bit. In terms of Anthony maybe having a bigger advantage.
Looked like that time he actually floated a little wide too, though, didn't he?
He missed the turn in a little bit. In the old days, you're in the grass and you try to stay off the grass, and that can typically lead to a spin. But with that widened runoff area through turn 2, love everything they've done about this racetrack. But I have to admit, Greg, when you look at turn 2, it has not had the same visual aspect that it used to. It used to be a royal ribbon through there. We tried to convince Ronnie Fellows last year, at least paint it green out there so you can still see the shape of the track.
Exactly. I mean, it's the corner that really gave Motorsport its legendary status, and you know, it makes sense. Pave it. It's a lot safer and the like. But if you've got that color differentiation, or like you have here in 8, that strip of grass, just something to really delineate just how still insanely fast and treacherous turn 2 is.
I've crashed there.
Have you?
Yeah. Came up here, run a former Atlantic race, and spoke to Paul Tracy's father, and he said come up and run Paul's Ford 2000 car that Paul Tracy was racing back then. And got wide. It had been raining. There's like this silty stuff right across there where Lawson Aschenbach is right now. Just got out wide, kind of where Anthony was, and there was no way back. And pretty embarrassing. Not a big one, but got into fence. It's like, thanks for letting me borrow my car.
Yeah, exactly. Here, it shouldn't take long for you to put it back together. I remember calling a Trans Am race here back in the day with Dorsey, and Dorsey made a point about, he said when you go off, you know, you go off fast and you can go off deep. It takes a long time. And I said, sounds like you're talking from experience. And he went, oh yeah. He said, I went off there once, and I mean, I was deep. And I said, all right, I'll take the bait. How far off did you get? And he said, well, they wanted to charge me $40 Canadian to let me back in.
I'll tell you what, this racetrack is intimidating. When I had that off, I then got into the Atlantic Cup the weekend, but was so far off the pace. My team owner, Dennis Ead, was saying, what is wrong? I said, there's nothing wrong with the car, mate. It's all in my head. And we have a good look in the mirror before qualifying, and we ended up winning that weekend. But I tell you, I had to dig deep. This place will get to you.
Yeah, I was having a chat on the test day up with Andrew Bourdain. We were watching over turn 2, and he was talking about, you know, guys come to club events now and they talk about, yeah, I was almost flat in my vet through turn 2, and Andrew said, yeah, that's a whole different ball game nowadays. But wow, Mantella on the attack once again. It took him a little bit to be able to make that ground back up, but he's there.
He is, and he's pushing hard.
Yeah.
And if he can roll through this corner, Lawson's probably going to have to protect that inside line. He sees Anthony move to the outside, so he didn't have to do that. And Lawson's one of the best.
But he's packing
with his eyes in the rearview mirror.
He's backing them all up, though, because this is as close as we've seen Baptista, with Barkey right on his 6. I mean, really, there's now...
It's going to be a problem for Mantella.
Wiggle by Baptista.
Oh, Baptista in really deep there.
Yeah.
Watch that really wide. That's going to put, Barkey's through. You can see that coming. Just Baptista try to carry the speed in. I think what he's trying to do was to be able to set up Anthony to be in position here.
Yep.
So he took it in really deep, got in too deep, got out wide, and that opened up the door for Martin.
Almost looked to me like he had a wiggle right past the apex in 4 as well. And that may have been what did it. But boy, still, look at this. Going to try the outside on Mantella.
It's not quite close enough, but without the mistake, he'd have certainly been close enough. So
absolutely.
He was thinking ahead. He said, look, if I can roll some speed. Oh, Barkey looks to the inside. Baptista had to protect there.
Boy, and that gave Mantella a breath. That was it was nice by Barkey on attack, and you could see Baptista immediately had to defend just a little bit. Slowed him down, and that now gives Mantella a little bit of free rein to try and do something with Lawson once again, as we are now at 18 minutes left.
The ebb and flow in GTS racing is unbelievable with all the different brands. Oh, look at this. Side by side, Mantella just can't kind of get the car in the right position. He needs to set up Lawson a little bit differently. Oh, he looks to the outside. Lawson has to clear him. That was sweet.
Yep.
And that is just heads-up driving by Lawson Archambault. You realize that Mantella is committing to the outside. Didn't let the Camaro slide up, otherwise there would have been some argy-bargy. So now Mantella has the position, but he's got to make that crossbow real wide. That gets good exit speed, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
That's as well as we've seen him get out of Moss, though, this entire race.
He's done everything correctly, but is it enough? And the head of steam that Camaro has, you just can't afford to jink and jive down the straightaway. You're allowed to make the initial move, Greg. Can't react to the guy behind you who's coming up with speed, but you can certainly be proactive. But when there's such a difference, it's hard to time it right.
And Baptista has quickly regained that little bit of lost momentum and gap here.
Well, that's one of those stories you can talk about, Greg, is where you can say, listen, I passed Lawson Archambault around the outside of turn 3.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to be able to say.
And I'll tell you, with a lesser driver, that would have been resulting in Mantella going for a bit of a ride as they're now side by side again. I just think this tire degradation is hitting Lawson a little bit more than the crossbow that's lighter weight. Saw it before.
And Barkey attacking on Baptista behind them.
Mantella not quite as close here. Lawson takes that outside line away. Fascinating battle here. This battle for the podium.
Oh, Barkey looking to the inside of Baptista for just a second. Couldn't do it.
It's got to be fun. I mean, there's a frustration factor, but it's still got to be fun.
Well, as we're seeing what's unfolding here, some pretty interesting stuff. Baptista making the move around the outside of Anthony Mantella at about station 7, now up into 8, and Mantella not going to be able to answer at this stage. So Baptista gets around Mantella. Let's see if he can do anything. Looks for just a moment there, and Baptista had that covered. So we're seeing tremendous speed from the crossbows everywhere except where they need it down that straight. Jeff, this race has been absolutely fascinating. Apparently a little technical issue down there, so we'll keep an eye on what's unfolding here. Anthony Mantella trying to figure a way back around Rodrigo Baptista.
This could get interesting.
Yeah. For a minute there, I thought Anthony might try that outside line, but the problem is Baptista saw him do that on Lawson, and Baptista drifted just wide enough to dissuade him a bit.
It's not such a delta, but again, Cayman just has a bit more.
Yeah.
Oomph down the straightaway. Mantella wide there through 5B. That will hurt him a little bit in terms of his attack. Baptista now closer to Aschenbach. There's not such a big difference between the Camaro and the Cayman straightaway speed-wise. So see how this one shakes out.
Interesting to see, exactly what that speed differential is here as they come up. Baptista staying a lot closer. A 145.7, 145.7 for Aschenbach, 147.6 for Baptista in the draft.
In the draft, yeah. So probably not much between the two if they were on open road without the draft having an effect. Up front, Buford has stretched the margin on Ernie Francis Jr. to about 2.5 seconds.
Ernie kept it at 1.5 seconds for a number of laps, but in the last couple of laps, Buford has just started to draw away a little bit last lap, turning a lap about 0.5 second quicker than Francis.
Okay, and Lawson has a new opponent.
He does.
Been fighting those crossbows all day. Now, as we get towards the latter part of this race, what does Baptista have for him? Does he have an ace up his sleeve?
There's your top two. There's Ernie. You see, he definitely has dropped off now just a little bit from Jade Buford there in the red Sin R1, just making his way on the climb up the hill.
Sure, Ernie will have learned a lot in terms of this Mustang and his performance over a full race distance. That's the great stuff about these doubleheader weekends, Greg. You can go away, tinker a little bit on the race car, change your strategy a little bit, maybe change your starting pressures, but tomorrow we may be on different tires. There's been a big threat of rain for Sunday all week long, and it seems to be maintaining in the forecast, so we'll have to see what tomorrow brings.
And that's a very good point. You're on different tires anyway because you get a fresh set of the Pirellis for the second round, but could be a
wets.
A little bit different construction and compounds. We're back to this battle, and oh boy, Rodrigo really getting a good run out of 10, and Lawson sensing it and going to defend.
Well, Lawson just couldn't get the power down early. You could just sense there was a delay there and getting back the throttle. Baptista the run, and Lawson knows that. He realized that, hey, I don't have the traction, I don't have the bite, I'm late to the power, I'm going to protect immediately.
Let's see if we can get back down to Jeff.
Well, all business down here at the Mantella Autosport. The local boys here, they're all glued to the laptop watching the action here with Anthony Mantella. Damage to the front of his
Barkey looks to the inside. Mantella trying the outside again on Baptista. I don't know if he's close enough, but he's trying to force his way there. And finally has to tuck back in, Cal.
This is an awesome little battle.
Ooh, another big wiggle by Baptista.
There he is, and Mantella can smell it. He can see that Baptista is struggling a little bit here. Barkey, the interested observer right now.
Coming up on DeAngelis, and again, just he's doing a nice job moving over. Staying as far out of the way as he can.
See what Baptista does up here as we get to turn 10. I just noticed the last time on the front straightaway, Lawson was just very late to power and had to protect. I think if the two of them, Aschenbach and Baptista, can get a bit of a gap on the crossbows, that will allow Baptista just to focus forward rather than behind at the same time.
Lawson a little bit better out of 10 that time, it looked.
Yep.
You can see him, he really swings it hard out of 9 way over to the left to try and straighten out 10 as much as he can. Look at Mantella coming though.
I think they're just wide open through one. It's just turn the car, go.
Look at this. Look at Barkey.
This has potential.
He just tightened it up. He's by Mantella.
He's going to go to the outside of Baptista. Baptista knows he's there. What a move by Martin Barkey. He's going to have the inside line for turn 4. Make 2 position. Oh, that was really tight. The Cayman now accelerated him and almost had it. That was nip and tuck there at the turn-in point for turn 4.
And look at Mantella. He's going to try and ramp the outside.
He's going to go wide. It's going to cost him. Good racing.
Oh, fantastic.
Heads off to all those guys keeping it clean. It's had potential for disaster for many laps yet.
Yeah, that was great awareness by all the drivers. And I'll tell you what Mantella did right there, if nothing else, was he slowed Baptista a little bit coming out of Moss by pinching him on the exit, but boy, still that straight line, just too much. This is fun.
It really is. And I think that's what these boys are having at Mantella Autosport. They've found a platform that they can go race with.
Yep.
Cars are reliable. The team and the engineering department there have done a great job at getting them tuned to the different tracks that we're visiting now for the second time for that team. And that's always a big advantage, Rick, when you come back and you return with a notebook, having campaigned the previous season.
Boy, you know, Lawson's looking in his mirrors and going, "Go, Martin, go."
Yeah.
As long as he keeps Baptista occupied, look at the margin that that Lawson's been able to come up with. Now down to the inside, which is what he tried to do the last time, and Barkey pops to the outside once again.
He's not quite on his flank like he was last time, but even so, Baptista is not able to roll the mid-apex speed that the crossbows are. If they ran through a trough of paint through turn 3, the track would be a different color right now in all terms of all the different lines that we've seen.
Exactly. There, the Baptista just didn't quite get the drive he's had before out of turn 5. Still enough to be in front. Now Mantella going to swing out and see if he can do something with Barkey here.
I'll tell you what, the boys go to dinner tonight from Mantella Autosport. They've got some stories to tell.
Don't they?
There's 42 minutes of racing so far today.
Yeah, some great moves, and that one by Barkey.
Yeah.
That one might be the move of the race right there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you say, well, remember that one move? It's like, well, what lap was that on?
Yeah, exactly. Boy, this is as much of a margin as Baptista's had over those two Mantella Autosport crossbows in a while.
Yeah, they can get back on your tail really quickly through these corners. They just
like
got
this.
such an advantage.
Oh, and traffic.
Yeah, traffic up ahead. Watch Lawson. He'll try and play this correctly. Just try and gap at apex so he can just accelerate off and try and clear that car by turn 4. He's going to have to go the long way around.
It's Adam Merzon. Got him doing a nice job. As soon as he got out of turn 8, saw which way the drivers behind him were going to go, just stayed to the other side. Oh, Baptista is close. And remember that last time in the draft, he had a couple miles per hour on Lawson.
Yep.
And Camaro does punch a pretty nice hole in the air.
Very close.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be a question, is he close enough to maybe try and move in turn 10? Okay, you get the advantage down the straightaways, but you lose, you know, I mean, these cars aren't set up with dive planes and stuff on the front end, but you certainly will still get a little bit of aero wash if you're super close to someone. Wilson's really kind of changed his driving style there off a little bit off of the final corner. It looks like he's rolling good speed again, so he's made some adjustment to be efficient off the exit there, because you could see that was getting him in trouble and getting the guys into attack mode right behind him.
And look at Barkey going creative again.
It's high speed stakes here on this racetrack, Greg. I mean, it looks all very controlled, but I mean the speeds and the loads that they're carrying here, if it goes wrong, it's a hairy, scary ride.
One misstep. And that's where all of that we saw in that previous lap, where they were side by side.
Oh, he's up on the curb. Yeah, just got into the curb. I could sense that was coming. You could see Barkey looking to the inside, and then if you get pinched a little bit, you get the right side up on the curb. That may have been what happened, and then you got no grip, and the other guy's turning. That's unfortunate. And I think that came and maybe crabbing a little bit.
It is.
It look like?
Yeah, it sure looks like it.
Cut down the tire or bent the toe link or something. That's unfortunate, because up until that point, the boys had kept it really clean. But you could sense when Barkey looked to the inside, and if Baptista didn't give him the full lane to the inside, you're going to have nowhere to go. You get up on that curb, and suddenly you've not got the grip exactly when you need the most grip.
Let's see if we can go back, take another look at it, Cal.
Yeah, just
you can see him the inside. Love that curb.
Yep.
Yeah, the damage, obviously. Yeah, you can see that right rear suspension's broken. And a drive-through penalty coming for the number 80 of Barkey.
Yep. It's unfortunate because it had been a brilliant battle.
Yep.
And, ultimately, you're going to have a little bit of argy-bargy when you get down in there. It's unfortunate for this guy because he had a disappointment at VIR with the retirement. Let's see if the boys can get him back out there. But you can't be going around this racetrack with bent or severely damaged suspension. Ian James now slow.
Well, and we've heard reports, the fluids.
It's all happening here in the last 10 minutes.
Exactly. We're inside our final 5 minutes. There comes 45 at Jade Buford. There comes Ernie. That's the margin first to second in this one, now up to 4.5 seconds.
Champion stuck in gear.
Well, they had some. Wasn't St. Pete where they had some overheating issues, and it was gearbox related. So I wonder if
about cooling. I think they switched gearboxes from that round. Barkey for his drive-through, which is going to be even slower than normal, because I don't think Ian James has even done the 35-mile-an-hour minimum speed limit down pit lane, so it's going to cost him even more. It's about 25-second pit lane delta here, what you lose coming down pit lane at the speed limit compared to standing on the racetrack.
Looked like there was a fender liner sitting out on the track. Everybody aware of it. It's been there for a couple of laps. Now, for Anthony Mantella, not having to worry about his teammate Barkey and not having to worry about Baptista.
Oh, he's got a nice run.
Just frees him up for a full attack run for these last few minutes, doesn't it?
Made that move before. Lawson will know that he wasn't able to hang on what I call his left flank there, on the left fender, rear fender, like he did that one time when he made the move. Maybe he doesn't quite have the bite that he had earlier in the race either, Blake.
Well, they've certainly, as you said, driven so many different lines around here that I'm sure they've been stressing these Pirelli P0s. Ooh, Lawson really clouded the curb at 5B. That's going to slow up his exit. Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, it might just be the margin will be a car length or two less.
Yeah.
And at almost 3 minutes to go. Boy, Mantella's got to find it somehow here.
It is tough. I mean, because where on the lap do you do it? Unless you could maybe somehow do it, be close enough here and get it into 10 and be able to stretch enough on that first half lap. Because if you do it in 3 or 4, you can't build enough margin to get up. Oh, he's got to watch that fender. That was close there. Good heads up there by Anthony. Sometimes when you get in the heat of the battle, you forget about that fender, even though it's been sitting there for 2 or 3 laps. It was a little bit closer than before.
You can see that Mantella, when he turns into one, he's got such a head of steam, and then he's got to almost check up a little bit because of Lawson. Now
Lawson using more of the road than ever. See, if he gets him here, he's just not going to build enough margin unless he absolutely parks Lawson.
Yeah. I almost wonder if Anthony might want to back off just a little bit coming out of 10 for just an instant, so that he can, so that he can have more speed as he exits 1.
Yep. You just have to back time these passes when you have such an advantage through those high-speed corners. It's all about just timing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're spot on, Greg, and saying maybe if you just back up a little bit further so you don't have to crack the throttle in turn 2 and full flow into turn 3. But Lawson, hats off to him. He's such a pro.
He really is.
Just knows how to position that race car.
He's been attacked in every which way here in this one. He's been able to, when he's lost that position, he's been able to be in a position to get it right back again.
Traffic here. As the traffic clips the fender, so does Mantella there. It's in a different position on the racetrack when Mantella got there. And look at this.
Ooh, this might be what Mantella needed.
I'm sure it's going to time out for him, unfortunately.
Yep. 1 minute to go. The laps they're running here, and whoa,
he's got wings.
Both flying now.
He's got wings. There he goes. He's closer. Flank. He's to that flank like he was earlier. There's a little touch. He's got to his side. Can Lawson out accelerating down into turn 4? No, he cannot. Mantella gets the position with 44 seconds on the clock. What can he do here through Moss? Got to execute perfectly. A little bit wide. Lawson struggling. That's a big gap. That's a big gap. It's as big as it's been. Lawson's going to come at him like a freight train right now. I'd go right, Anthony. Stay right. He does. I can go the long way, but can he get by him by the time they get to the crest?
I think with Buford's lead, we may have one more lap for these guys.
That was all you could do.
Close.
That was all you could do, but it still wasn't quite enough. White flag.
Wow, with 5 seconds left on the clock, it allows Mantella one more shot at this.
Get that in offended and cut down a tie here. Mantella gives it a nice wide berth. Great race by Anthony here. Really showing great racecraft here the last year or so.
What's going to happen down into 2? He's swinging wide, going to try and get him there. Now
he's going to get to the outside. He's got the run. He's got the run. I think Lawson may take it away from him. He's not going to give him that line. Yeah, Lawson was perfectly had the right to swing out a little bit wide on the exit there. Good respectful driving though. Protects the inside. Can Anthony do the undercut? No, he can't. I think this is game over now.
Yep. Oh, he has thrown everything possible at it here in front of the home crowd for a shot at a podium.
Anthony kitchen sink Mantella.
That's exactly it. And then you get to the straight. And what's the old saying? You love it when it handles well on the straights. Now, will Anthony do something as Buford comes through the Sin R1 GT4 from Racer's Edge, and Jade Buford picks up the win here, round number 5 of the championship. Mantella had a good head of steam built up turning in, but it's just not going to be enough, and Lawson Aschenbach will complete the podium with Ernie Francis Jr. in his debut on the season in the Ford Mustang on the middle step of the podium. So Buford, Francis, and Aschenbach, then Mantella. What a tremendous, tremendous drive Anthony put on here. And Barkey, even with the drive-through, shows that he might still have made it into the top 5 on this one. Jeff Courtney in 6. Ari Balo, what a drive for Ari to win. He got around Kurtz late in the going in that older BMW and picks up the win in A.
Very cool.
Great run by Ari Balo.
That's awesome.
George Kurtz, solid run, 2nd in AM, 8th overall. Nate Stacy made it up into 9th, and Tony Gaples, 3rd in AM, completes your top 10. But boy, we're going to be talking a while for the battle between Aschenbach, Barkey, Mantella, and Baptista. And it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda thing for Baptista because he was quick.
He was. He'll be disappointed to lose another bundle of points. That really hurts his championship effort. Lawson Aschenbach, 5 for 5 in terms of podiums on the year. Will we see another sweep tomorrow, Greg? We've had 2 sweeps this year so far at GTS.
Yes, we have.
If it takes round 1, see if he can follow that up tomorrow. But we could be in very different conditions. I don't think no one expects to see this bright sunshine tomorrow. But you never know with the weather.
Right, Buford has fast lap thus far, which should put him on pole at a 124.231. That's the Motul Pole Award. He would get that. Looks like a 24.3 by Francis would be the next quickest lap. And a 24.57 by Mantella, a 5.9 by Barkey. Then a 24.7 by Aschenbach. So it's going to be the same players up in the sharp end of things, but as you point out, yeah, weather could play a huge role tomorrow.
Well, he's in red. He's done his best Sebastian Vettel impression now. He's picking up all of the rubber. And
exactly.
With these cars, they have to go through post-race technical inspection. One of those is a minimum ride height requirement.
Exactly.
And what you're basically doing is trying to snowball those tires and pick up those marbles and get the car up in the air a little bit, just in case your team set the car up right on the line in terms of the minimum.
Well, that's the thing, you set it up right on the line, as you said. Then you get out and you're compressing that suspension and hit a curb or whatever, and suddenly you're under the ride height. So it's a smart move.
Yeah,
just a smart move. So, wow, that was fun. I mean, obviously up front, Francis getting the jump at the beginning, then Buford getting by him, and eventually opening the margin up rather comfortably. But 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that was a contest extraordinaire. What a joy to watch here, and just great to see such a strong performance by the local team in Mantell Autosport and those 2 local drivers really putting on a show. But boy, for Jade Buford, like we said, you put him in this sin.
He made the move in the new Overtaking spot.
Yeah,
Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It seems to be the sweet spot, if you can make it stick.
All right, looks like Jeff Lepper is ready, and Jade climbing out. Get the helmet off, and we'll hear from our winner. Jeff?
Well, Jade Buford, like you said before, he gets into the Sin R1. It just seems he has to win. So that's just how he does. We'll have him get his helmet off here really quick and tell us about that race. Talked to John Meraki, the team owner, a little bit earlier, and he talked about how they were hoping the race was going to come to them with the lighter weight cars having to take a little bit more time to get heated up. But Jade Buford trying to get all this equipment off as quick as he can and gets them here. And we said it before, Jade, it's just one of those things. You get behind the wheel of this Sin R1 and it just seems to win. Congratulations today.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this car is great. Team's made huge strides with it. It's really been one of the best cars I've ever driven. So, yeah, we had a plan today. We executed that plan, and I'm glad we were able to come away with a win.
Well, of course, Jade Buford getting his win again here in the Racer's Edge Sin R1 GT4.
Can I say it? Jade in that car, it's a nice synergy. And they put him in. I know. That's why I said, I prefaced it.
Sinful.
But he just really seems to be tailor-made for driving that car. Just an absolutely fantastic job. So take a look at the results here. Top 10, again, Buford, Francis, and Lawson Aschenbach on the podium. Key thing there, Aschenbach, that fifth straight podium you talked about, Cal, and the point lead over his full season competitors. What a race, though, including Mantella, Barkey, and let's not forget Rodrigo Baptista. So fantastic stuff. And Ernie Francis Jr., what a return to the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championships, and he gave it his all, Jeff.
You certainly give your all there. Welcome back to Pirelli World Challenge competition as well.
Yeah, it's great to be back here. It's a lot of fun. First World Challenge race back, and qualified the car P3. We were able to finish at P2, so that's really awesome. The car ran really quick out there. Right from the beginning, the car was smooth, the car was fast. Ford Performance really built a great car, and can't thank Multimatic enough for the car, and Core Motorsports and PF Racing. They did a great job prepping the car, and couldn't ask for a better result for the first time out.
He said it right there, Greg. Can't ask for a better result.
Absolutely, boy, and I'll tell you, watching him in qualifying, we talked about that save he made down in turn one. You know this young man's for real, and he showed it today. And obviously, when he realized he didn't have the car to be able to race with Jade, he let him go. Got the second place. Smart driver too. His racecraft is coming around, but the guy that may define the term racecraft, certainly in the GTS category, is a gentleman who sits third on the podium, Jeff.
Well, Lawson Aschenbach, that racecraft, like Greg Kramer just said, that third on the podium. Tell us about your race. It was a struggle for you.
Yeah, that was definitely a struggle. I mean, we talked about it before the race. I mean, the most important part was going to be the start. I was going to have to attack as soon as I could to try to get the positions, then hopefully hang on. And it was basically probably 47 minutes of hanging on for dear life. So it wasn't fun, but it was an exciting race. And I got to say thanks to everybody at Black Dog. I mean, these Camaros, we've been reliable. We've been fast everywhere. We haven't quite got the win yet, but we keep getting the podiums. We keep executing properly, and that's what's getting us the championship lead right now. So I got to say thanks to everybody at Chevrolet, GM Racing, Pratt & Miller, everybody that's been involved in this program. These cars are a lot of fun to drive. They look good. They sound good, and hope to see tons of them out there here soon enough.
Well, third place today, but with the two part-timers in front of him, first place in points.
Well, that's the key, isn't it, Cal? He continues to increase that margin just a little bit. May have been a little different deal if the Barkey-Baptista contact hadn't happened, because Rodrigo really looked like he was the one who may have had something seriously for loss.
Yeah, because he didn't have quite the same straight line deficit that the Crossbows did. So if he could have got close enough, he had the ability to hang on potentially. But he keeps doing it. 5 podiums in a row, extends the lead.
Let's take a look at our GTSA. GTS AM category, and we talked about Ari Belo making the move to an older BMW and being able to put together a great race like that. George Kurtz awfully close in that CrowdStrike McLaren, less than a second adrift. Tony Gaples completes the podium. Alan Brynjolfsson, a very solid run by Alan in the debut for that team and program in this series. But I can't wait for this interview, because Ari Belo, Jeff, Cal and I had mentioned it, he's relatively new to racing. He's a quick study, and he can adjust from car to car. What a day.
Yeah, Speaking of that, adjusting from car to car, the Aston Martin you normally drive, unfortunately, an incident, but you bought the old BMW out with Cameron Racing and got the win. Congratulations, Ari.
Thank you. Huge shout out to the team. Stephen Cameron Racing took the backup training car in a week and a half and got it ready, because I actually cracked up the Aston here in the rain 2 weeks ago practicing. An amazing race. Pirelli World Challenge puts on an amazing race. It was just awesome, and the tires held up, so it was great.
Well, congratulations on his first win here in Pirelli World Challenge competition.
Yeah, it's great to have he and that team, of course, racing in this championship. And he made a comment there, Cal, about the tires held up so well. That's one of the things, these drivers that come to this series, one of the things they do tend to rave about is racing on these Pirelli P0s.
They give it to you. You run them hard in qualifying. You have to start this race one of the weekend on the qualifying set.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see it today, but in races past, we've seen fast lap set in the last 5 minutes. So they're great to race on, and we saw some awesome racing out there today. One of the best circuits in the business.
And the nice thing is we get to see these GTS guys do it again tomorrow as well. It's one of the great things about a doubleheader weekend. But Pirelli World Challenge racing not done here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park here today. Folks, you're going to want to be back with us on our global web stream at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, when it is the third round of the Sprint X Championship with the GT3 cars, along with our GT Cup and GTS competitors as well. 60 minutes, 2 drivers, mandatory driver change during the course of the race. Scheduled to start about 1:45. We'll hopefully be with you a few minutes before that here on the global web stream. In the meantime, it is lunchtime here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We look forward to having you all back with us. For Jeff and for Calvin, I'm Greg Creamer. We'll see you shortly after lunch here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.